So I have with me here the brand new Evoque. No lah, this is the Discovery Sport, and it looks exactly like the Evoque that we know, because that design has worked so well for Land Rover as a company, and then they decided to bring the Evoque's styling to the entire lineup. So this positioning used to be supposed to be the Freelander, okay, but then somehow they decided to cancel off the Freelander and call this a Discovery Sport. Now the Sport lineup in Land Rovers, it means a smaller car of something else, right? The Range Rover Sport is the smaller version of the Range Rover, and then they have a Discovery which has a lot of followers. People love the Discovery because the Discovery is the true essence of what is a Land Rover, right? An SUV that can go extreme off-roading, can do whatever you can, and then is comfortable as a family carrier, 7-seater. So this one is a Discovery Sport, and it's supposed to have 5+2 seating when it arrived in Malaysia 2 years ago or 3 years ago. And that time it was priced at 390,000 ringgit or 399, 400,000 ringgit. But now they reduced the price by 20,000 ringgit, but then they spec'd off the +2 seats at the back. So this car now is a strict 5-seater mid-size SUV, which competes against the XC60, competes against the X3, and competes against the GLC. Alright, there are no more seats here. Open the cover, you have a space saver tire. That's about it. Okay, and then at the rear here you have some rails, some stuffs for you to hook your things, and that's about it. And you have this button to lower the seats, and the 12-volt socket over here, the tonneau cover. That's it. I'm sorry, the tonneau cover, and I believe the seats can be reclined. Let's go in. Power struts, it uses power struts. It's the power boot. And then let's go in here, start the car. That's the interior. Alright. Now you will notice one thing. I've always said that Land Rover builds excellent interiors, but Land Rover is also not a company that makes excellent decisions at times. So this round they decided that this car shouldn't be prettier than the Evoque, because the Evoque sits on a Range Rover range. This one sits on the Land Rover range, and hence the interior should be slightly cheaper than the rest. Okay, so these plastics, all these, they are properly fitted, they are proper materials, they are not bad. But don't forget, this car is 380,000 ringgit. It goes against the likes of XC60, X3 and GLC. So in terms of design, it doesn't look close to 400,000 ringgit. And the size of the screen, look at that, that's my palm. That's the size of, yeah, so that's the size of the screen. And then over here you have shortcut buttons to control this. But even though I thought this is supposed to be, oh, it doesn't animate. It might, okay, it's a bit slow, but it's dead easy to use, because it's just, there's no overlay or anything. It's just dead easy to use. It's just that the delay might cause you to think that it did not register your presses and all that. Okay, the rear view camera is pretty low res. Yeah, it's pretty low res. Here you have a digital cluster in the middle to display multi-information, and then these dials are just very simple in terms of design. This material feels good, it feels alright. Paddle shifters, you have something that looks like leather but with some stitches there, but I don't think this is leather at all. This is just some, you know, injection mold polyurethane kind of plastic. It's covered in felts over here. Nice door handles. You have a Meridian sound system, premium sound system, and then over here you have your cup holders, some shilling coin holders, and a 5-volt USB port, a fast charging USB port, thank God. And here you have the usual USB port. Let me plug this in here. Okay, one more USB port, auxiliary 12-volt, small one. Not a lot of cabin spaces for you to chuck your stuffs, to be honest. And then the door handles are here. Somehow Jaguar Land Rover, they've decided to put their window panels here, window control panels here, so that when it rains, the rain can come in and wash it clean. Okay, I'm joking, but why, I wonder? I mean, it could have been easily placed somewhere here. I mean, I really don't get it. But somehow they just feel that that's where it should be. But come on, when it rains, you just give a ticket and all that, right? Rainwater will come in. But this is a Land Rover. It doesn't feel water, okay? Here you have a gloss black panel that's, it looks like it's supposed to display something, but it does not. It's just gloss black there. And then here you have some screens inside the dials, which is a nice touch. But this is no longer something that is a novelty anymore. I mean, a lot of car brands are doing it nowadays. All right, seats are reasonably comfortable, and then this guy here, when you start the car, it raises up. I'm not that happy with this part here because it just feels like an awfully waste of space for what is just an electronic dial and an electronic parking brake. You know, it could have been better optimized, and then you can have a much larger cubby space here. See, this thing is just, you get to remove this. Oh, there's some party trick here. So you can remove that and it reveals a rather deep console, but you can only remove this one, not this, because the 5V is over here, and you need to find some place to store this after that. A little bit over engineered, I would say. This it's a bit too chunky for what it does. It's just to hold cups, you know, not some 10 kg metal bar. Okay, and when you plug in, you can no longer close this. If this is over here, you will be able to at least slide it a bit. Anyway, this one you can't extend it. You know, Land Rovers, you always have that little T-Rex thing you can rest your arm. You can no longer do that in this one. All right, you have paddle shifters. Start button is just a piece of plastic. You don't get frameless rear view mirrors, small sunglass holder, and then this is all right. Oh, this is the really old type. You on the lights like that, and then when you close it, you will off it. See that? Again, I'm gonna do this again, sorry. So this is the old style ones. See, you off it. But this one, right, it doesn't really, it's very easy to take it out. Yeah, I keep accidentally releasing it. Alright, let's go to the rear. Can't put big bottles over there. Oops. Let's unlock the car. Come inside here. That's the second row. Pretty spacious, and I can fit my foot underneath, in between the seat base and then the rail of the front seats. And the seat back feels very straight over here, but I believe, yes, I can lower it. Now that's pretty good. That's a good seating position. That's pretty comfortable. I need to find ways to drop the other ones, which I couldn't for now. The whole car just doesn't feel like a 400,000 ringgit build. Okay, it really doesn't feel that way. Okay, it's 60/40, so this goes along with that. And you're supposed to have two seats at the back there, but then they're not there. And then you have this huge panoramic roof, which is very, very nice for rear passengers. But in terms of leather, in terms of the stitching, in terms of the finishing of the seats at the back here, it feels like it doesn't feel like a 400,000 ringgit kind of car. It feels like a CRV's seats at the back here. You know, the way they are stitched, the way it's finished. The Proton X70's seats are better finish, higher quality than this. Okay, this one has a lot of all these exposed plastics. You see this one chipped off a bit. Get all these plastics over there. Well, supposedly, oh, you can extend the armrest, and these are very high quality plastics, very hard wearing type, very chunky and very stiff. kind of hard-wearing plastics. You get a aircon vent over here, which is a nice touch. I love aircon vents placed on the B pillar proper. Okay, the door panels pretty alright as well. So overall, in terms of material use in this car, right, it's not the type that makes you feel this car is very, very premium looking. Okay, and then that's the rear design. I don't really like it. This one is just a bit gaudy in terms of its design. See, this little button feels higher quality than the one you use to start the car, which doesn't make sense at all. Okay, so what are my thoughts about this car? Because of all this internal positioning, you know, this could have been a proper challenger to the XC60, X3 and all that, but they try to slot it in between, purposely make it slightly uglier, slightly cheaper than the Evoque. They get all this consideration that you assume people will only buy from Land Rovers, hence you position it that way. And I think that's a wrong move. That is a wrong move, because they could have made this car really, really beautiful and sell huge numbers, but no, they did not. I mean, if they don't produce this car, they just throw this car away, and then they just made the Velar, and they used the Velar to challenge the Germans. It would have sold in huge numbers, but because the Velar is so beautiful, they decided to move it up the ranks, make it more exclusive, and then they suffer from all the losses that their company owners are thinking of getting someone else to invest into Land Rover and Jaguar now. I think Land Rover and Jaguar needs to come down from their high pedestals. Yes, you guys are legendary British brands. There's a lot of followers around the world, but you just need to get your act together. Go all out on every single one of your products. Do it as best you could, instead of trying to learn all the cost optimization stuff that VW Group does. They sell 10 million cars a year. They can do optimization shit. And they have all the dealership networks. Alright, they cut a little bit here and there, they'll get millions in savings. You guys sell how many cars a year? Right? So, yep, this is my review of the Land Rover Discovery Sport. Off-road capable, but go get an X3 or an XC60 or a GLC instead. I'm sorry, I wanted to like this car, but too many flaws. Yep, not worth the price. Cheers. Hi, I'm behind the wheel of the Discovery Sport, and we're trying to take some footage, some B-roll footage, and it immediately reveals one thing. It's so hard to modulate the throttle of this car by going slow. Either the turbo comes in or the turbo don't comes in, or either the transmission just, you see, I'm just trying to drive slowly, but it either slowly rolls and grounds to a halt, or I need to add a little bit of throttle input. But the moment my throttle input comes in, and then the car gonna lurch up front a bit. And this makes me appreciate Mazdas and their excellent throttle response and modulation. You see, as my speed picks up, what is going on? Okay. As my speed picks up, the car sort of spooled its turbo and then comes on again. So what is this car? Well, put it this way, Land Rover wasn't a premium brand all along, all this while. It is an honest farmer's car until the Range Rover gotten some cult following. Celebrities started buying the Range Rover, and it became a fashion icon. It became an icon for rappers, for stylish socialites, and then that started their whole transition from an honest off-road vehicle to a premium brand. And I mean, all this while the Range Rover has been there, right? And then they have the Land Rover Discovery. The Discovery is every bit a premium car. Okay, it's a fantastic car, the Discovery. And of course, after that they launched the Range Rover Sport, which is a smaller version of the Range Rover, but using the platform of the Discovery, which means it's a leather frame car, to launch the Discovery Sport. So the Discovery Sport is a leather frame SUV with 7 seats, whereas the Range Rover is a luxury limo SUV only with 5 seats. And then we have the Freelander. The Freelander has always been sort of like a CRV competitor in Europe. Alright, it's just that when they reach Malaysian shores, it became sort of like an X3 Challenger or Q5 Challenger, but it couldn't hold it because that car wasn't built like a premium car. That car doesn't have any premium interior surfaces, design, or luxurious appointments, none of that. Okay, the Freelander is just a rather capable 5-seater small compact SUV. And then this happened. So they have cancelled the Freelander, they called it off, and they decided to use the Discovery name to be in line with Range Rover Sport, and then Discovery Sport. So this will be the Discovery Sport. And in global whole, there's a G-Wagon. In global markets, there is a 7-seater version of this, but I wouldn't call it 7-seater, it's a 5+2. Okay, those are child seats at the back, literally. So what do we get here now is a car that in terms of size positioning, RS6, what's going on? In terms of size positioning, this car should be on top of the Evoque, because the Evoque is a small little compact SUV. However, the Evoque is also a fashionista car. I mean, a premium SUV for ladies from Range Rover. So they have split the lineup between Range Rover and the regular Land Rovers. So the brand is called Land Rover, the model is called Discovery, the other model is called Discovery Sport. I mean, this is called Discovery Sport. And then back then you have the Land Rover Freelander. But now they have a Range Rover Vogue, Range Rover Sport, and Range Rover Evoque. Yeah. So this guy, because it is not branded as Range Rover, it suffers from all this. These are not bad materials in any sense, but in the context of Range Rover, this car looks cheap in the context of a Range Rover. Okay, so what is this then? Is this a challenger to the X3? I'm not sure, because it feels like a traditional SUV. It feels tall and unwieldy like a traditional SUV. You know, you have a lot of body roll, and I'm very sure this car is way more capable going off-road compared to your usual X3s, your GLCs, or Q5 or XC60. Okay, definitely, because it is a Land Rover. Land Rover by default are better than everybody when it comes to off-road. So you have all this, you see snow mode, rock climbing, sand and things like that. Okay, but when I look at this interior, one thing that I don't really appreciate is this. Usually when a car maker builds cars to fight for market share, you want people to buy your car, you will try your every best to do the best you can, right? Case in point, look at how the GLC was designed. Look at how the XC60 was built. It is beautiful. They use whatever they can find to make it the best they could. They put in all their effort. However, the conception of this car means that this car has to sit below the Discovery because it's the Discovery Sport, a smaller version, cheaper version, but it also has to go below the Range Rover Evoque, which this car is bigger. However, the brand positioning, the Evoque sits within the premium lineup, this one sits within the regular lineup, and then it suffers from intentional sabotaging from the company itself by trying to make this car less attractive than its siblings, because in their mind people will only buy from Land Rovers and they won't cross shop to Volvo or BMW or Mercedes-Benz, which means this is a very, very bad business decision. Alright, because the moment you hop up into this car, you can immediately tell that the whole cabin is one class below that of the GLC, the X3, the XC60, even the Harrier. This thing feels like an honest French car that wasn't attempting to sell you at a price that is close to 400,000 ringgit. So this car arrived Malaysia with a price tag of 398,000 ringgit, which is crazy expensive compared to its segment. However, it has a 5+2 seating, which means, hey, not bad, you know. However, they updated it and removed the 2 seats from the back, and they charge you 20,000 ringgit less. To be honest, for someone who's buying a mid-size SUV that is ready to spend 400,000 ringgit, it doesn't matter if it is 379 or it is 399. It really doesn't matter at all. You get what I mean? So, and then you have the Velar with that beautiful interior. So you see, if the Velar is like that, why is this like this? Because they suddenly have too many cars in their range, right? They have the Discovery Sport, this one. They have the Range Rover Evoque, which is smaller than this. And then they have the Velar, which is, from exterior, looks a lot larger. From price positioning is a lot higher. But the Velar interior room is more or less the same with this. So now you have too many cars in that little price gap that you have. From 370 to 550, there's too many things there. Then you end up with something like this. So, is it comfortable? It's pretty alright. It's a Land Rover. Does it feel premium? No. It does not feel premium at all. How's the throttle response? How's the engine performance? I think it's pretty jerky to say the least. It's not a... Oof, the RS6. Let's follow the RS6. Follow RS6. That's my mantra. Ooh, look at it. Look at it. Ah, it's beautiful. Anyway, so the engine is pretty powerful, but in terms of the power delivery, it isn't something that I'm happy with. And then when you look at the interior, I'll go through the details later, right? So in terms of the drive, it's really the type whereby the turbo goes on and off, and then it just jerks you. It's not a car that you can really drive comfortably, smoothly. And then you have the screen. Again, because of the positioning, the self-sabotaging, you have a tiny screen here that is barely larger than that of a mobile phones. Okay, and 400,000 ringgit for this, and then you hear this. Land Rover, I am disappointed, because you know you can build beautiful, expensive looking interiors. I've always praised your interior. Why do you do this? It's the same thing that Jaguar did to themselves. They designed the beautiful XE, the XF, and it drives so well, and then they're like, alright, this round we're gonna hit the Germans. And then they start counting how much they can save if they cut a little bit here and there from the interior. So you end up with Jaguars with interiors that people walk into Jaguar showrooms were excited about all the new cars. They sit into their cars, they look at the interior, and then they walk back out and then they go and buy a German or a Swedish car. Yeah, you haven't even gained your sale and you already start thinking how much sale you're gonna get and how much savings you're gonna make by cutting costs. Yeah. Is it fast? I mean, it's a 2-liter turbo, it can't be slow. It's not a huge car, but I just feel old in this car. It doesn't feel like a new car. It feels like something launched 10 years ago. Just because they down-spec the interior. Not down-spec. The local boys didn't do anything wrong, right? But it's, oh my, suspension. See, the turbo it's just the type that is not smooth, you know. You brake and then it dips too much. You apply the throttle, nothing happens. Then the turbo kicks in and jerks you. I don't appreciate that in a car that is close to 400,000 ringgit. So, is this a recommended buy? Absolute no. It is an absolute no. If you have 370,000 ringgit, if you really want a Land Rover, go buy a used Range Rover or buy a used Discovery. Those are excellent cars. This car, it has to carry the family design language, but it cannot design it to be sleeker looking than the brakes just. They cannot design it to be sleeker looking than the Evoque, so they purposely made this car uglier than the Evoque. Again, self-sabotaging. So this review isn't about me not liking the Discovery Sport. It's about me revealing to you how people in Land Rover themselves shot themselves in the foot by assuming everybody's gonna buy a Land Rover at the first place, which that does not happen. And what's going on with this? It's one big swath of plastic with 1 liter rotary dial there. Where's they could have garnished it up, right? Instead of just revealing the plastics. Now the plastics are the smooth type, they are the pretty quality type, okay? And these are alright materials. These are not cheap hard plastics, they are not, but it's just that I know how capable Land Rover is when it comes to building beautiful interiors. Case in point, Velar. Case in point, Range Rover. And the Evoque as well. Alright? So I don't get that kind of really comfy, all carpeting, ironing out all that kind of BMW magic carpet suspension. I don't get that, but I get the body roll. So there's body roll, and then when the roads are not flat, you hear all kinds of sound coming in from the suspension. See that? All the little vibrations? Nah. That Capture has better suspension than this. Yep. Done. Not recommended at all. Disappointed.